Okay, I think this thing's run at this point. I intended to make this a lot more detailed, a lot nicer, with some graphics and PowerPoint, but I'm running out of time here. I got 2 kids, I got wife, life, like everybody else has. So we're gonna have to be quick about this. Maybe 5 videos over the next week, hopefully. But initial statement: I'm not doing this child support thing because I want my ex-wife back. I wouldn't piss on her if she was on fire. I don't hate her and I don't want revenge. She's my kid's mother. Frankly, I couldn't care less other than my kid's mother. I'm not trying to save my ass, and I don't owe any money. But that's the whole point of this, is to get to there. The only reason I'm involving everybody else is not just for shits and giggles. This isn't something just to piss off the government. The only reason I'm involving everybody else is because it affects you. And over the course of the 5 videos, I ask you to please take your time. Watch them, study them, get a calculator. You're going to need it. And I will do the best I can. But I don't want to start there. I want to start with the history so that when we get to the end of this, you can understand why we need some different solutions. I don't want to sit there and do this and be like, hey, I want to hurt, let's just go leave everybody poor. No. I'm not that kind of person. I'm a compassionate person. I understand people have struggles in this life. Lord knows I have my own. So we have to do it with compassion. Simple as that. We have to understand that there's people out there that can't feed their kids. We have to understand that there's people out there who can't feed themselves, that can't take care of it, that minimum wage, no matter how high you make it, there will be other factors into that mathematical equation, and it just doesn't always work out. And there's really difficult problems in this world, and there are really difficult economic problems that take really smart minds to fix. Being angry doesn't help anything. That said, child support, excuse me for 1 second, hold on. Like it or not, it's early, I smoke and I drink coffee, so bear with me. Child support was invented in 1974. We're going to start with the history of child support. Where did it come from? Why was it there? Who was it supposed to be used for? Contrary to popular belief, it was never supposed to be intended for every divorce. Child support was invented in 1974 by the Gerald Ford administration. At the time, you have to remember, we have the first influx of women into the job market in such a huge way. We have a women's rights movement going on that frankly pissed off a lot of people. Not to say it wasn't right, but just like with the gay rights, anytime you change something, people get pissed. You have a bunch of fathers whose grandfathers, you know, my grandfather, both my grandfathers never would have expected their mothers to just divorce them and leave their families or try to take their families or do any of this. You had a bunch of daughters who were taught something different. They were taught, you have the right to go out and get a divorce if you don't like your husband. You have the right to go get a job if you want to, and you do. You know? But the problem was that you had a lot of people who, you know, sometimes make decisions irrationally. They want what they want, but they don't think about their responsibilities. Because of that, you have a huge influx, millions of women who were out in the job market, had kids, had a bunch of fathers that said, this is not how we were raised. I am not paying you for this. And women who just didn't have the skills and the education to take care of themselves or their kids. So there were 2 women, maybe 3, I forget exactly. I did the research when I was in college. 2 or 3 women that were in a small office in Washington, D.C. who kept getting these letters from all these women going, help, 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 we need help. Our kids are starving. We can't get jobs. We can't get paid, da-da-da, yada, yada, yada. And these women, not to minimize that, but these women in this office had nothing. There was no social services. There was no child support. There was no TANF. There was barely food stamps. So as a result of that, you have these women in this very small office with these thousands and thousands of letters, maybe even millions, going, we've got to do something to help. And why aren't these guys taking care of their kids? Why aren't they just paying her some money? You know, help her out a little bit. So what? That's where we started. So you have them going to the Gerald Ford administration, to the Congress, to the House of Representatives, and going, we need some help. We need some child support here. So what was invented is what we now know of as assistance, you know, TANF, food stamps, and child support, mainly, with a child support order. So the federal government, the Gerald Ford administration, passed child support and said, to get these small few amount of women whose fathers were earning upper middle class to upper income and just refusing to pay, these women went, hey, we're going to help these ladies out. And some of the hardworking women in factories, and said, we're going to help these women out. So they passed an order. Now, initially, you got to remember, initially, the state courts refused to enforce it. In the late 70s and the early 80s, the state courts refused to enforce it. The state courts said that no matter what you were saying here, no matter what the federal court said, they were going to continue to not enforce this child support because they thought it was a bad economic idea. They thought, yeah, well, they need some help, but this isn't the way to do it. At some point, we'll get into the economics and why they decided that, if they were right, if they weren't right. We'll get into that much later. But that's what happened. They refused. A federal court said, no, you're going to do this. No family federal court was established. No real oversight was established. Nothing like that. Just, you're going to do this. So initially, like in my father's age, you could file bankruptcy on child support. You could go, hey, I don't have the money. You know, not that I wouldn't pay, not that I can't pay what I want to pay, well, when I want to pay it, but frankly, I just don't have the money all the time. So in comes the garnishment. In comes the end. Guys, see, I can't finish anything. I'm starting to work on it.